Welcome to the deep dive. Today we've gathered, well, a really quite unique stack of sources.
Yeah, it's quite the contrast, isn't it?
Definitely. On one side, we have this cutting-edge technical stuff on distributed systems, reliability engineering.
Right. Modern software architecture.
And on the other, documents detailing, this symbolic education in Freemasonry rooted way back in ancient stonework, spanning centuries.
It really is a study in contrasting approaches.
Yeah.
But our mission today, I think, is to explore how these two very different systems,
Like software service and human character.
exactly how they approach essentially the same goal, achieving perfection, stability, insight through using tools and measurement.
It makes sense. If you think about fixing a complex problem, you often rely on external signals, don't you?
You do.
Our technical source really focuses on this idea of observability, which is basically the ability to understand a system from the outside, especially for tackling those weird, novel problems, the unknown unknowns.
Like that plumber analogy you mentioned earlier, trying to find a leak in a building he didn't design.
Exactly like that. He needs data points. He needs to see what's happening inside without tearing down all the walls.
And to get that visibility, the system itself needs to be instrumented, right? It needs to emit telemetry.
Telemetry, that's the key term, the raw data about what the system's doing.
And that telemetry usually breaks down into three main types. First, you've got traces.
Oh.
Think of traces like tracking a single request as it bounces across different parts of a big distributed system, like putting GPS on a package.
Got it. So you can see the whole journey.
Precisely. The second type is metrics.
Right, the numbers.
Yeah, the quantifiable stuff. Time-based aggregations like error rates or CPU usage or, how many add-to-cart clicks failed in the last 5 minutes.
Your basic dashboard gauges, speedometers, fuel level.
Exactly. Your quick health check indicators.
Yeah.
And the third piece, logs.
Ah, the diaries.
Pretty much. Simple, time-stamped messages recording specific events, like an activity journal. This happened, then this, then that.
And the point is, you really need all three, don't you? Otherwise, you've got blind spots.
Absolutely. You can't really understand the why behind a problem without combining traces, metrics, and logs.
So why does all this technical instrumentation matter? It comes back to reliability. And the technical sources define reliability pretty simply. Is the service doing exactly what the user expects it to do?
It's not just about is the server up, it's about function. If you click checkout, but the price is sometimes wrong, well, that's unreliable, even if the system reports green.
Right, function over mere uptime.
And this is where SLIs come in, service level indicators.
Yeah.
These are the specific metrics you choose to measure that user satisfaction. Things like 99% of checkouts should take less than 2 seconds. That's an SLI.
So you're defining what good looks like quantitatively.
Exactly. And that SLI then informs your SLO, your service level objective. That's the internal target you commit to hitting for reliability.
Measurement leading to accountability.
That's the core loop. Measure what matters to the user, set a target, and hold yourself accountable.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly. If that's the modern technical way to measure the reliability of, say, code, let's pivot. Let's look at this much older system for measuring the reliability of character.
It's fascinating. We're going deep into the progressive moral education taught through the symbolic working tools in Freemasonry across the 3 degrees, starting with preparation.
The fundamental premise feels, well, remarkably similar. You take the raw material, the rough stone of the candidate,
Untested, unrefined.
and you provide the tools, the instrumentation needed for self-improvement, for calibration.
Yeah. Okay, let's unpack that first degree. The Entered Apprentice, this is stage 1. Preparing, shaping that raw potential. The tools here are all about foundational self-discipline.
Makes sense. Where do you start?
First tool, the 24-inch gauge. Now, operatively, a stonemason uses this ruler to measure their work, ensure accuracy.
Standard measurement tool.
Right. But speculatively, philosophically, it represents the 24 hours of the day. It teaches the apprentice to divide that time wisely.
How so?
The teaching is usually about allocating portions of the day. Some for service to God and neighbor, some for your usual work or vocation, and crucially, some for rest and refreshment.
So it's fundamentally about time management and moderation, building a balanced foundation.
Exactly. If we link that back to our tech source, the gauge is basically teaching resource management. Time is your most finite resource.
Oh, interesting. Like managing CPU or memory.
Precisely. Allocate it properly to maintain system health. Overload one area, neglect rest. The system, your character becomes unstable, unreliable.
Okay, tool number 1. Manage your time. What's next?
Next is the common gavel. Think of it as a stonemason's hammer. Operatively, its job is to knock off the rough, superfluous bits of stone, the excess.
Chipping away the imperfections.
Right. And morally, the gavel represents the force of conscience.
Yeah.
It's the internal tool you're meant to use to chip away at your own vices, your improper habits, any vain and unbecoming thoughts, as the ritual often puts it.
So it's about actively removing the negative parts of your character, striking down things that compromise integrity.
You got it. It's like a proactive debugging for your personality.
I like that. Proactive incident management for character flaws. You fix the known bugs before they cause a crash.
That's a great way to put it. But it does raise a question, doesn't it? If the gavel is internal conscience, how do you make sure it's, well, calibrated correctly?
How do you ensure the hammer strikes true?
Yeah. Do you just rely on your own judgment?
Mm-hmm.
Or do you need external checks later on? Which is perhaps why the third tool, at least in some traditions, is vital.
Right. You're talking about the chisel. This is particularly emphasized in the early United Grand Lodge of England UGLE tradition.
Correct. Operatively, the chisel works with the gavel to refine the stone surface, making it smoother, more detailed.
Symbolically.
It signifies the advantages of education and discipline. It's about using learning, knowledge, the refinement of the mind to shape character. It really reflects that enlightenment ideal, transforming the ignorant savage into the civilized being through intellectual cultivation.
So conscience alone isn't enough. You need education to guide it.
That's the idea. The gavel provides the force, the chisel provides the direction and refinement.
Now, we should point out the American difference here because the sources are clear on this.
Yes, that's important. While UGLE rituals typically specify these three tools, gauge, gavel, chisel, many American jurisdictions, following a figure named Thomas Smith Webb, historically listed only the gauge and gavel for the first degree.
But crucially,
the lesson associated with the chisel, the importance of continuous learning, education, defining the mind, shaping that rough ashlar into a perfect ashlar, that lesson is still very much taught, even if the chisel isn't formally presented as a working tool in that degree.
So the principle remains, regardless of the specific tool list, you never stop learning, never stop refining. The foundation requires ongoing work.
Exactly. It's a lifelong process.
Okay. So once that initial shaping and preparation is underway, we move to the second degree, the fellowcraft. What's the focus here?
Competence. Proof. If the first degree was about shaping, the second is about testing, improving the quality of the work. We shift from tools of preparation to tools of, well, measurement and verification.
So if the first degree gave us internal instruments, this degree gives us the external checks, the quality control.
You could absolutely see it that way. These are like the character SLIs we talked about, the service level indicators for virtue. The tools of the fellowcraft provide the framework for testing the uprightness and rectitude of your life and actions.
All right, let's get specific. What are they?
First up, the square. Operationally, a builder uses it constantly to test angles, to make sure corners are true right angles. Essential for structural integrity.
Can't build a stable wall without square corners.
Precisely, and speculatively. It's the emblem of morality and virtue. The fellowcraft is taught to regulate their life and actions by the square of virtue, meaning adhering strictly to truth, righteousness, fairness. Acting on the square means acting honestly, ethically. It's a constant check. Are my actions aligned with moral principle?
Okay, the square for morality. What's next?
The level. Operatively, it's used to lay horizontal lines and surfaces, ensuring things are perfectly flat. Symbolically, it carries a powerful message: equality. It teaches that all individuals, regardless of their station in life, their wealth, their social standing, are fundamentally equal.
Sprung from the same stock, as some rituals say.
Exactly. Social distinctions are temporary, maybe even illusory. On a fundamental human level, we all meet on the level.
And that's not just a nice sentiment, is it? It sounds like a prerequisite for a stable system.
I think it is. A society, or any group, like a fraternity, that operates on fundamentally unequal principles can't be truly stable or just in the long run. The level is a constant reminder to check for biases, for unfair hierarchies that can undermine the whole structure.
Makes sense. Square for morality, level for equality. What's the third?
The plumb rule, or sometimes just the plumb line.
Okay.
Operationally, it's a weight on a string used to establish a perfect vertical line. Absolutely essential for erecting walls that are straight up and down, truly upright.
And the symbolic meaning.
It's the emblem of integrity, justness, and uprightness of life. It admonishes the mason to walk justly and uprightly, before God and man.
So it's the measure of your personal integrity, your vertical alignment with principle.
Precisely. It's perhaps the most, well, absolute measure. Are you aligned with fundamental moral law? Any deviation means you're out of plumb. It strongly echoes that biblical imagery, like the prophet Amos using a plumb line to measure Israel's deviation from God's standard.
Wow. So these three together, square, level, plumb, they provide a really comprehensive check, like a 360-degree assessment of moral performance.
They really do. They test your relationship with principle, square, with others, level, and with your own conscience and divine law, plumb.
Now, the second degree isn't just about these moral measuring tools, right? There's a significant intellectual component, too.
Oh, absolutely. The Fellowcraft degree is specifically described as extending the Mason's research into the hidden mysteries of nature and science. It's about developing the mind alongside character.
And the standout science here is geometry.
Yes, it's explicitly called the fifth science, and often stated as the foundation upon which Masonry itself is built.
There's that origin story, too, about why geometry was supposedly developed.
Right, the legend attributes it to Euclid in ancient Alexandria, Egypt. The story goes the Nile River would flood every year, washing away all the property markers.
Causing chaos, I imagine.
Exactly. Grievous disputes, the texts say. People couldn't agree on whose land was whose. Geometry provided the objective, universally verifiable method, using measurement and proof, to reestablish those boundaries and settle the disputes peacefully.
So geometry itself is presented as a tool for bringing order, objectivity, and peace out of chaos and conflict through measurement.
That's the core lesson. Using reason and science to understand and structure the world.
And this intellectual journey is also symbolized, isn't it, by the winding staircase?
Yes, the winding staircase is a central symbol. Its steps often allude to several things. First, the numbers required to govern a Masonic lodge. 3 rule it, master and wardens. 5 hold it, add 2 fellow crafts. 7 make it perfect. Add 2 entered apprentices.
A structure based on specific necessary numbers.
Right. The steps also often represent the 5 noble orders of architecture: Tuscan, Doric, Ionic, Corinthian, composite, linking back to the building theme.
And also the 7 liberal arts and sciences.
Correct. Grammar, rhetoric, logic, the trivium and arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, the quadrivium. The idea is that mastering these arts trains the mind, enabling the Mason to better understand the world and, by extension, its creator, to trace the glorious author by his works.
So a comprehensive education in both moral measurement and intellectual discovery.
That's the goal of the Fellowcraft stage.
Okay, which brings us finally to the third degree, the Master Mason, the journey's culmination in the craft lodge.
Here, the Mason transitions conceptually from being a craftsman who executes and proves the work to becoming a master, someone capable of designing, planning, and overseeing the entire project, uniting the work.
So the focus shifts to leadership, planning, and ensuring the integrity of the whole structure.
Exactly. It's about the reliability of the blueprint and the cohesion of the workforce, not just the quality of individual stones.
And again, we see a slight divergence in the specific tools emphasized between the UGLE tradition and common American practice.
We do. Though, as before, the underlying lessons point towards the same core principles: accountability, planning, and unity.
Let's start with the UGLE tradition's tools for the Master Mason.
In many UGLE-derived rituals, the master-specific tools are the skirt, the pencil, and the compasses, tools primarily used for design and layout.
Okay, tell us about them. The skirt.
The skirt is essentially a marking tool, like a chalk line reel. It marks out the straight reference lines on the ground plan for the foundation. Symbolically, it represents establishing an unswerving course of conduct, guided by divine principles, often represented by the volume of the sacred law.
Setting the baseline for action.
Precisely. Then there's the pencil, or sometimes a drafting crayon.
For drawing the plans.
Yes. And its moral lesson is quite potent. It teaches that all our words and deeds are observed and recorded by the great architect of the universe.
So it's about accountability again, like an audit trail.
Very much so. It connects directly back to that idea of logs from our technical source. The pencil is, in a way, drawing the log file of your life. Every action, every decision, recorded for review. It reinforces ultimate personal accountability.
That's powerful. And the third UGLE tool?
The compasses, used, of course, to draw circles, arcs, and crucially to set boundaries.
Okay.
Symbolically, the compasses represent divine boundaries and the importance of self-restraint. The master mason is taught to use them to circumscribe his passions and keep his desires within due bounds.
So it's about controlling oneself, preventing excess or error that could risk the entire project, the entire system.
Exactly, ensuring your own behavior doesn't introduce instability.
Now, contrast that with the American tradition. What's often highlighted there for the master mason?
In many American jurisdictions, the specific working tool presented to the master mason is the trowel.
The trowel. Operatively, that's for spreading cement, right?
Yes, it's what the mason uses to apply the mortar that binds the stones or bricks together into one solid structure.
And the symbolic meaning follows directly from that.
It does. Speculatively, the trowel is the emblem of brotherly love and affection. The master mason is taught to use it, metaphorically, to spread the cement of fellowship, kindness, and mutual support.
To bind the members of the fraternity together.
Precisely. To unite them into one sacred band or society of friends and brothers, as the language often goes. It emphasizes the master's role in fostering harmony and cohesion within the group.
So, while the UGLE tools focus more on design, record-keeping, and self-control for the master, the American tradition emphasizes the unifying, adhesive principle.
That's a fair summary of the difference in emphasis, but I think it's important to see them as complementary, not contradictory.
How so?
Well, ultimately, both traditions convey a unified message. The master mason, having learned self-discipline, gauge, gavel, chisel, and moral rectitude, square, level, plumb, now uses all those skills, plus the planning tools, carrot, pencil, compasses, and the principle of unity, trowel, to build the symbolic temple of humanity. Love and unity are the essential binding agents that make the entire structure stable and meaningful.
So it's really an incredible logical progression, isn't it?
It truly is. You move from self-discipline, managing your own resources,
Not staging gavel,
to rigorously testing your character against external standards.
to the square, level, and plumb, the moral metrics.
And finally, to leadership, design, accountability, and the essential task of ensuring unity and cohesion.
The compasses, the pencil, the trowel, ensuring the whole system holds together.
And if we loop all the way back to our technical source on reliability engineering, it maps surprisingly well.
How would you summarize that connection?
Well, in tech, we implement internal instrumentation, right? Getting the system to report on itself. That's like the Entered Apprentice tools, the gauge, gavel, chisel.
Self-monitoring, self-correction.
Then we define and relentlessly measure performance against strict external standards, our SLIs and SLOs. That's the fellow crafts square, level, and plumb. Objective measurement of performance against defined virtues.
Testing against the specs.
Exactly. And finally, we focus on the overall architecture, ensuring robust design, clear accountability trails, logs, and the protocols that allow distributed parts to work together reliably. That's the master mason's focus, with the planning tools and the trowel's unifying principle.
The whole life cycle of system integrity applied to character.
Precisely. The core takeaway, I think, for both domains is that reliability, whether in a massive software system or in a person's life, it isn't an accident. It doesn't just happen.
No, it requires deliberate effort.
It requires constant calibration, relentless measurement against clearly defined objectives, and the active, conscious use of tools, whether digital or symbolic, to correct course when you deviate.
Which really brings us to a final thought, something for you, our listener, to maybe reflect on.
Yeah. So think about this. In the tech world, we use these incredibly precise objective measurements, SLIs, SLOs, to monitor and prevent the collapse of complex systems we build. We measure web page speed, error rates, uptime.
Right.
Now, if we take this analogy seriously, if we equate something like the square, the level, and the plumb to being moral service level indicators, moral SLOs, designed to ensure the stability and integrity of your own life structure, then the question becomes, what set of moral tools, what measurement framework do you consciously use on a daily basis? And maybe even more fundamentally, how do you ensure the materials you're building with, your time, your education, your actions, your relationships, are themselves sound or of due form before they get tested by the square, level, and plumb of the world? How do you check your own building blocks?